Pro wrestling may not be everyone's cup of tea, but there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that the performers are some of the most athletically gifted individuals in the world. Not everyone can take bumps for 4 days in a week and still keep traveling without any sick days. Pro wrestlers are also some of the most overworked and underappreciated athletes, but that's the price they pay to make a name for themselves in the business. The temptation of becoming household names and getting opportunities in movies is something that motivates the WWE Superstars. However, there are those that are enchanted and enamored by the wrestling business and have grown up watching and idolizing the yesteryear stars. While the wrestling business can be lucrative, it is also extremely demanding and takes a toll on the bodies of the wrestlers. My name is John, and in this video we take a look at 10 injured WWE stars that are currently sidelined and their possible return dates. After spending a few years on the indie scene wrestling as Biff Busick, Oney Lorcan was signed by WWE in 2015. Oney received great reviews for his performances in PWG and CZW, so when he showed up in NXT, the fans expected solid work from Lorcan and the superstar did not disappoint them. However, it was in 2017 that Lorcan truly became his own on WWE's developmental brand, and in early 2018, he teamed up with Danny Burch and competed in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. However, the duo was eliminated in the very first round. They then started feuding with the Undisputed Era, which led to a match between the two teams at NXT TakeOver Chicago. During that match, Lorcan would be injured, suffering an orbital bone fracture, and he underwent facial surgery. While there is no definite timeline for his return, it would be a couple of months before Lorcan can return to WWE programming, which means we could see him back in action by September. Moving from one NXT star to another, Riddick Moss signed a developmental contract with WWE back in 2014. A former football player, Moss has the looks and the physique to climb the ranks in WWE, and he started teaming up with Tino Sabatelli, with the duo calling themselves God-gifted athletes. In early 2018, Moss and Tino entered the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, but they also lost their match in the very first round. Tino would then turn his back on Moss, effectively ending their partnership. In May, Riddick Moss tore his Achilles tendon and is expected to be out of action for the remainder of the year. Primo and Epico had a promising start in WWE with winning the tag team titles, only to be thrown back into relative obscurity. The Colons certainly haven't had the best of times in the company. While the creative team tried to freshen things up by giving them different gimmicks, it ended up hurting them more with the universe not taking them seriously. Primo and Epico have tried to work with what they were given, but it was obvious that the gimmicks given to them weren't working for them. The Colons were recently repackaged, but once again they hit a roadblock last year in November, with Epico injuring his shoulder. The superstar underwent surgery in January and is expected to sit on the sidelines for the next couple of months. Best known for his appearances with Ring of Honor, Bobby Fish signed up with WWE last year and has been a part of the Undisputed Era stable. Along with Kyle O'Reilly, Fish is a 3-time ROH Tag Team Champion and a 2-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion, and has also held the NXT Tag Team titles. Just when it looked like things were going well for Fish on WWE's developmental brand, he suffered a torn ACL and a torn MCL in March, effectively taking him out of action for the rest of the year. Fish underwent surgery and continues to appear with the Undisputed Era on NXT in a non-wrestling capacity. While ACL and MCL injuries can end careers, Fish is expected to be out of action at least until October, while Roderick Strong has filled his shoes as the other half of the NXT Tag Team Champs. While coming from a wrestling family can often open doors for the wrestlers without putting in as much effort as the others, it can also weigh them down because of the expectations. Tamina is the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Jimmy Superfly Snuka and has been with WWE since 2010, initially forming a stable with the Usos. Since then, she has pursued a singles career, and with her looks and her father's legacy, it was believed that she would one day lead the Divas division into the new era. However, Tamina couldn't live up to the lofty expectations. And while she did go after the Divas title, she more often than not played the role of an enforcer to other women. Tamina competed in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble earlier this year, but tragedy struck just after the match with Tamina suffering from a torn rotator cuff. She underwent surgery to repair the damage, but is expected to be sidelined for the next couple of months. The timeline to return from the surgery is usually 6 to 8 months, which could mean that Tamina would be ready to return to in-ring competition by August or September. Samir and Samir Singh might not have achieved individual success in WWE, but they definitely played a big role in Jinder Mahal's ascension last year when the modern-day Maharaja became the WWE champion. Samir and Sunil have always had a good relationship with Jinder outside the ring, and the trio's chemistry on screen led to the WWE using the Singh brothers prominently as Jinder Mahal's henchmen, who did the dirty work for the former WWE champion to capitalize and pick up the wins. The Singh brothers initially competed in the WWE Cruiserweight Classic and were then signed to WWE's developmental brand, but were immediately brought up to the main roster to work with Jinder Mahal. However, Samir Singh suffered a torn ACL back in January while exiting the ring in what was a freak accident, and has since been rehabbing his injury, preparing himself to return to in-ring competition. It usually takes about 6 to 8 months to completely heal from a torn ACL, which would mean that Samir can return to the ring by August or September. Jinder and Sunil have sorely missed the third piece of the puzzle, and Samir has been working hard to prepare himself to get back inside the WWE ring. As far as debilitating injuries go, neck and back injuries are by far the worst. We've seen superstars' careers ending because of neck injuries, and Jason Jordan too has been dealt a bad hand. Just as it looked like the superstar's career would take off on Raw, he suffered a neck injury, and with WWE taking all the precautions to prevent stars from aggravating their injuries, Jordan has been sidelined since February. Jordan underwent neck surgery earlier this year, and it's being reported that the star is close to returning to in-ring competition. Jordan has been seen backstage on Raw for the past month or two, and the feeling is that the star has completely recuperated from surgery, and is really just waiting to be written back into the storyline. Expect Jason to make his return in the next month or two, and possibly resume what was meant to be a rivalry between him and Seth Rollins. No injury comes at a good time, but for Dean Ambrose and the WWE, his injury came at the worst possible moment. Last year, WWE finally pulled the trigger on a Shield reunion, with Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns joining forces once again to vanquish their opponents. However, just as it looked as though the trio would once again remind the fans about why they were so popular to begin with, Ambrose suffered a tricep injury, putting him on the shelf for the foreseeable future. Dean is currently rehabbing his injury, and while the initial timeline for his return was sometime around 6 to 8 months, he is expected to return by August. Seth Rollins recently talked about reuniting the members of the Shield once again, maybe in time for this year's SummerSlam, which will take place on August 19th. The year 2017 arguably belonged to two superstars in particular, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. While Sami was overlooked for years in the WWE, turning him heel was probably the best thing that could have happened to the star, resurrecting his WWE career. Owens and Zayn were then embroiled in a rivalry with Shane McMahon, culminating in a match at WrestleMania 34, which saw an in-ring return of Daniel Bryan. However, Zayn hasn't tasted much success on Raw. Following the WWE draft earlier this year, he was fed to the returning Bobby Lashley, and Zayn's last match took place at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, where he lost to Bobby Lashley. Sami was reportedly dealing with a few nagging injuries, and has since undergone surgery to repair both of his rotator cuffs. This will keep Sami away from the ring for the remainder of 2018, and the superstar can be back in time for the Royal Rumble next year. Randy Orton is one of the most successful WWE stars today, and has won almost every title there is to win in the company. While Orton may not be everyone's cup of tea, there is no denying the fact that he will go down as one of the greatest WWE stars in history. Orton won the US Championship earlier this year before dropping the title at Mania 34. While his WWE title pursuits over the past year haven't been successful, Randy has been one of the biggest stars on SmackDown Live. Orton's last match was against Jeff Hardy at Backlash back in May, and after the bout, Orton took some time off to undergo knee surgery. Orton said that he has been putting off the surgery since last year, but finally found the right time to get his knee repaired. It usually takes around 3 months for the stars to get back into the ring after such a surgery, which could mean that Orton may very well make it in time for SummerSlam in August. And these are 10 injured wrestlers and their possible return dates. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Hub, and as always, I will see you later with more wrestling videos.